When we hold on to grievance and pain from the past, we keep ourselves from being able to really move into our fullest expression of self. We need to practice forgiveness from the soul recovery perspective, dissipating the energy and releasing the past for good. If you're interested in this profound transformation, I invite you to join me in Colorado the weekend of June 8th and 9th to have an incredible experience with others on this same soul recovery journey. 2 full days of immersion in the soul recovery process where you will indeed leave transformed. You will be able to truly let go of these old pains and step into a new way of being. Check out the show notes for a coupon code and how to register. Rich and I recently spent 3 days with our boys back in California for an event, and it was another opportunity for practicing soul recovery. It was another opportunity to just be in our new family system, to really practice detachment with love and allowing ourselves to all just be exactly who we are. In this episode, I talk more about what the experience was like, how I'm using soul recovery, and how I'm using detachment to find a happier, healthier life, to be at peace with myself, and to stay on my own spiritual path. Welcome to the Recover Your Soul podcast, a spiritual path to a happy and healthy life. My name is Reverend Rachel Harrison. I started Recover Your Soul after having profound changes in my life from my recovery of alcoholism, codependency, and control addiction. I was guided to share the tools and principles of spirituality and soul recovery to help others transform their lives as mine was transformed. For us to overcome external circumstances, we need to turn the attention to ourselves, focusing on our inner change and healing. Positive results in our lives will follow. Welcome back to the Recover Your Soul podcast. I'm Reverend Rachel Harrison, and I'm so glad that you're here with me today. I always say that, but I really mean it. It just means so much to me that you choose to come here and learn about soul recovery, learn about how to let go of the need of other people to be a certain way for you to be okay. As I used to say, that my badge of honor was that I was only as happy as my least happy child. And my 2 boys, who are now grown men living off in California while I'm in Colorado, there were many a times when they were not all that happy. And things weren't going that well for them, or for my husband for that matter, and that I didn't know how to handle my own feelings, and I didn't know how to walk my own path. I was very codependent in how we all worked together, and I'm working on that. And I wanted to, in this episode, visit my most recent experience with the whole family. For those of you who've listened to the podcast before, my family are my qualifiers, my husband and my 2 sons, and I am a recovered alcoholic as well. And that we're learning how to be together. We're learning how to change our family dynamics, our family systems, how to be healthier as a family. And that really means letting them just be themselves. So if you listen to other episodes, I have interviews with them. I have interviews with my husband. And as I'm always talking about my own life story, because this is based on my experience, my transformation, my awareness, my release of needing to control, needing to fix, needing to change. As you know, I record this podcast pretty immediately before they air. So last weekend, Father's Day weekend, 2023, which also was our 29th wedding anniversary, 31 years together, 29 years married, Rich and I went to California to go join the boys at a Onewheel music festival event. And it's kind of funny because Alex said, I was kind of surprised that you wanted to come after everything was all said and done. And we had such a good time with them when we went to Las Vegas to see the Onewheel event that Bodie broke his collarbone in. And it had all of its own stuff, right? It had all of the craziness and the boys partying and people partying. And so it's interesting that I'm working on this part of me that can be okay with all of that, that can do this practice of soul recovery, of letting everybody be exactly where they are, and to be sober myself, and to just participate in their lives without being over in the corner trying to nitpick at them or change it or change everybody else. And doing that part of healing from codependence, healing from our desire to make it be another way, trying to fix it, trying to put them as the priority over ourselves, and just be present in their lives and allow them to be exactly who they are and recognize the good stuff instead of just constantly looking at the bad stuff. Just kind of an aside, a couple weeks ago, I had the privilege to go and see Abraham Hicks in person. And you've heard me talk about the law of attraction. And I always thought Abraham was a man. And I had heard so many things about Abraham Hicks over the years. And it was probably 4 years ago or so, 3 or 4 years ago, when I listened to my first Abraham Hicks. And it turns out it's this woman, Esther Hicks, who receives a transmission and has the ability to translate, as she calls, the greater consciousness of the source, which I believe in all that stuff, as you know, if you've listened to me before. And really, it's around the law of attraction. So I had the chance to go and see her in person, finally see Abraham in person. And it was really great. And I really loved it. And I'm sure I'll talk more about it. But it's interesting because I was contemplating what to talk about today. And then I thought, of course, I have to talk about the trip that I just had with the family, because if you're watching us on social media and you're on the Facebook page and the private Facebook group, you know what's happening in these parts of my life. So I want to share with you. But when I went to see Abraham, she had some oracle cards. They had some oracle cards. And so I bought some decks of oracle cards. And one of the ones I pulled was around complaining. And I thought about doing that today. I might do it another day, but it was complaining about complaining is still complaining. It made me think about how when we go into these environments where it's out of our element, that we find ourselves wanting to complain about it. We find ourselves wanting to say, oh, this doesn't resonate with me, or I don't like this, or I wish this was like that. And what we do when we do that is we're focusing on everything that's not working. And if you've heard my episodes on stop talking about what's not working, start putting your energy on what is working. And so pretty successfully, we did that in Las Vegas. And then we had the situation where Bodhi broke his collarbone, and that was a big deal. And we took him to the emergency room. And then we basically packed up and drove away the next day as he went back to Sacramento to be able to go get surgery. And then we missed them, right? Because we had like this kind of abrupt separation in our trip with them with this injury. And so it felt a little like it hadn't resolved itself. We hadn't had enough time with them. So there was this other big event coming up, which is one of the bigger Onewheel races with music and everybody camps. And so we thought, oh, we'll go to that. That'll be really fun. And originally I had set up for us to spend 4 nights and 5 days, I think it was, maybe 5 nights. And 4 of them would be at the event, the music event, and one of them would have not been, one of them would have been afterwards. And we had a conversation with Alex in particular before we came, and he said, thank goodness he said this, he said, oh, okay, well, you're coming. Well, just fair warning that this is an event where we go 100% in partying. It's up all night. It's dance music all night. We work hard during the day. There's the races. We're running the tent, and everybody just parties like crazy. And I said, well, I'm glad you let me know this so that I can prepare myself to be aware of exactly how it's going to be. But I think that even though I've done all this work and even though I know better, I think there's still this part of me that has, as we talk about, an expectation or a preference. I don't think I had an expectation for this one. I think I had more of a preference. I had an idea of being in it, of what that would feel like. One of the things that I'm so grateful for is that as I've done this work and I'm letting go of control, I'm doing step 1, I'm powerless over how much the boys party, or I'm powerless over how everybody in the world parties, to be honest. I'm powerless over how these events go. I'm powerless over what is fun for them, what isn't fun for them. And then I look, as I describe in step 1, you look at what you are feeling powerless over, and then you look underneath of it and you say, why do I want it to be a certain way? Why do I want it to look a certain way? And then if I look underneath, I can say, well, I think that I would like to see it look a certain way. I'd like to see them have fun and party, but maybe not as hard as they do. I look underneath and I think, I'm afraid that it's a slippery slope and that it's going to slide down into a darker place. And again, I keep coming back to this place where for them, it's not unmanageable. For them, their lives are not unmanageable. It's a lifestyle that is so busy and so on the go and so full. I can't even imagine it, especially looking at it from a 53-year-old perspective. So we show up and it's this fabulous big event with 500 people. Everybody's camping. We've been able to get one of the teepees that's there for us to sleep in, which turns out is right behind the stage. The stage is this old barn, and the teepees are set up next to this beautiful rolling stream, crystal clear, cool stream that was so beautiful with butterflies everywhere. And these tents with their air mattresses and comforters and pillows and everything that they had provided, which was so great, was right behind the stage. So I think the first thing for me was thinking, oh, okay, this is a really nice little setup, but it's going to be loud. It's going to be really loud. And they play music until 12:30 or 1 o'clock at night, which had changed from last couple times where they would play music till 3 or 4 in the morning. And people had said, this is more a sports event than a music festival. So the playing music all night long isn't really valid for the people who are competing in the races. So they had dialed it back till 12:30 or 1. And this moment when I realized that this is the situation, that the sleeping situation is right behind the stage, I immediately start utilizing my tools. I'm powerless over where the sleeping arrangement is. I'm powerless over how late they're going to play music. I have control of myself. I get to decide whether this is going to annoy me. I get to decide if this is going to be something that I take on as a complaining, right? Complaining about complaining and still complaining, or whether I'm just going to empower myself and say, okay, so what are your tools that you're going to use around this? How are you going to manage this? Now, if you've heard any of the podcasts before, I'm sure I've talked about the fact that I have a really clean routine now that I love, that is around getting ready for bed at 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night. And one of my favorite things is to slide into bed with Rich and watch TV for an hour and hold hands and be in our adjustable bed and watch something that we both enjoy and watch the weather and fall asleep by 10:30 at night. So this concept of music playing until 12:30 or 1 o'clock in the morning was already pushing that boundary. But again, we're coming back to controlling ourselves. If you're ready for soul recovery, as a spiritual coach, I can support your healing to help make real changes that will bring you a life of peace, happiness, connection, and abundance. You can also work in smaller groups by taking a deep dive in a Zoom workshop or with me in person at a retreat or an event. Join others on the soul recovery path once a month for the free Zoom support group or daily on the private Facebook page. Visit the website recoveryoursoul.net to book coaching sessions with me or find all the information you need about soul recovery, dates that are coming up, and how to register for those groups and workshops. To support the podcast and the community, check the links in the show notes to make a small monthly donation or a one-time donation of your choice that will make a huge impact to support this community and the soul recovery mission. Together, we can do the work that will recover your soul. And then it was such a big event and the boys had so much stuff going on that they weren't really available. Bodhi had met a girl, and so he was distracted with her. Alex had this big responsibility of keeping the tent going. He had done this incredible job of developing a carnival. He had done the development of what the games were going to be. This was his big project. He had illustrated these fun, wonderful stickers that went with each of the games. I just love his art so much. And the tent was up with all of the products, and they're one of the big product makers of this particular sport. And they're busy. And so Rich and I showed up, but it wasn't a trip for our family. It was really us showing up and participating in their life in the way that it was for them. And again, I just am so grateful that I've worked so hard on this ability to remind myself that they're their own people, that they are their own human beings, they're their own adults. My whole goal is for them to be able to be out in the world, to be self-supporting, to be self-sufficient, to discover who they are, to have successes, to have failures, to be honest, and to become adults of their own making, and that I'm there to observe. So we ended up having this fun weekend, but it was, I don't know, it was different than what I anticipated it was going to be, but I don't know. Again, it's kind of like when I went to Mexico, you think you know what it's going to be, but the truth is it is whatever it is. There was no place where I was disappointed in it. It was more of this awareness of myself that the detachment that I'm practicing in my life that's successful, the detaching with love, not detaching with the iron fist that says, I have a judgment around what you're doing, but the part of myself that can detach and have some concerns. Alex didn't sleep for 2 nights and felt like complete hammered shit the next day. And I watched him be so hungover and really struggling in the morning, trying to get his work done. And it was interesting to stand back and just be the observer and the supporter and not baby him and not overdo it and have him look at me and say, I know I feel like crap. I totally did this to myself. And I know that I'm stressed out because I did this to myself. And to just allow him to have that experience and witness it and say, yeah, I remember when I felt like shit like that too. And not have to shame him or tell him that he did something wrong. And Bodhi was detached and distracted. And that part of me, that old part of me that would want it to be different, would want to help them in some way, give them something in some way. What I was able to do is I was able to be tender to myself in that part of me that toggles back and forth between being really healthy in my soul recovery, that can really just bear witness to it, that can observe it and have awareness of this is their experience. And the other part of me that is afraid, that worries that the partying will cause them some heartache, that the partying will end up having a bottom for them that I wish I could save them from, that I have concerns, that it's hard to watch them be in that state, and that I wished that there was more time for us, more deep conversations, more connection, and to be gentle to myself in that. And Rich and I spent a lot of time talking about how we felt for ourselves. And I felt like it was so healthy for us to be able to have this connection with each other that was very, very, oh my gosh, now that I'm thinking about it, it's really bringing up a lot of emotion. I just really saw the difference in Rich and I's communication around this, that if I'm honest, this was what we fought about for all those years, was what to do with the kids and how we wanted it to be different for them and what we were afraid of. And what we were going to do about it, what we were going to do about it, what action steps we were going to take. And it tore us apart. And we used to have words or walk on eggshells or fight or be angry at each other every day for 10 years. And the experience is so different now in soul recovery that we actually really were closer on this trip, that we could talk about and connect with what we were thinking in a place that wasn't as judgmental around how we thought it should be different for them. It was more around our own concerns and our awarenesses of what we've been through, the work that we've done, the work that we've done with ourselves, the work that we've done in our marriage and our relationship. And instead of being in a place where we fought about what should be done about any of it, we just sat and allowed ourselves to feel our individual feelings. And again, the interesting thing is the kids are fine. I have to trust. I have to trust, because this is my core spiritual belief that their path is their own. And there was a moment in our conversations where the reality is we don't know what their lessons are in their life. And having partied as hard as we did at their ages and onward for so long, we can't possibly stand on our high horse and say that we know exactly how it should be. We're still trying to figure it out. We're still on our own path. We're still on our own journey. And learning how to turn the attention to myself and learning how to not spend all my time and energy on trying to fix or control or do something about someone else has given me the space to find peace within myself. And so we had these great 2 nights where we went to bed, attempted to go to bed at 10 o'clock at night, 10:30, with our earplugs in. And I had brought my Bose headphones that are noise canceling. On the first night, Rich put them over his earplugs with some meditation music going for him to fall asleep. And the second night I did that. And we kind of laughed about how crazy it was to be in that experience and how it bonded us in just being present with what it was. And then there was this moment where we'd had the experience, we'd had interactions with the kids, we'd watched them in their world, we'd laughed with them, we'd hung out with them, we helped with the carnival that turned out really great. We'd had interactions, and Rich and I said, we could go home early. We have Southwest, we can change our flight. Because there wasn't any reason to staying those 2 extra days really wasn't going to work out for us to sleep like that for 2 more nights, and that they were busy and they were doing their own thing. And that was a huge, huge turning point in the taking care of ourselves. Instead of trying to mold into something, it's not like we weren't having a good time, but kind of we had done the thing, right? So we're not partying, we don't ride Onewheels. We're not part of the community. We just wanted to come and observe and meet people and have great conversations and see the kids. And we'd done that. We'd done all those things. So we looked up flights and we booked a flight and came home early. And the night that we left and saying goodbye to the boys, just that heartfelt connection that we have with our kids. I, of course, cried because, of course, I always cry. And I had soft Rachel conversations because I love my boys so much, and I'm truly proud of them. I'm proud of the human beings that they are. I'm proud of the journey that they're on. And there's a little bit of sadness around the truth that for our family, it works better for us to not be together all the time. That these little touching in with each other at this point in our lives really is the ideal scenario, and that they live their life and we live ours, and that we're friends and that we care deeply about each other, but that the detachment, the releasing, the letting them go means that we each have to take care of ourselves in our own way. And Rich and I talked extensively about, as we say in all of this whole recovery, if you have somebody who's an addict, what do you say to them to share your perspective, your side, without telling them what to do? Because I don't think that if there's an elephant in the room, you just let the elephant be in the room. But we have to be mindful of what our intention is in those conversations, what we're trying to do. Are we trying to control it? Are we trying to fix it? Are we trying to manipulate it? But I also feel like it's okay to share your thoughts. So there was a moment with both the kids where I just, looked him in the eyes and I just said, be careful. Be careful about how much of this is going on in your life, and that these lives that you've created are fabulous and they're yours to lose. And it can slip, and the slope is slippery and it gets dark. So just be mindful, just be aware. And I love you, and I believe in you, and I see you, and I trust you, and I'm proud of you. And for me, it's important that I am able to say these things, and then I do my part, which is to completely let it go, to completely let go of whatever the outcome is, go back to my own experience, my own heart, my own gratitude for my family, my gratitude for the healing that's happened, my gratitude for my own inner peace, and that leaving, I didn't have a heavy heart. I actually felt like it had been a very successful trip again. And we had seen them in their element. We had had so much fun with them and with other people. I was able to be in an environment where there was so much partying going on and not feel uncomfortable. It just doesn't appeal to me anymore. But man, it did when I was their age, I can remember. The soul recovery journey has allowed me to have a level of acceptance that is profound. It's funny because we don't talk to the kids a lot, but since we've gotten back, we're touching base more often because it brings that connection. And then we just want to check in and tell each other we love each other. And Alex sent me this very sweet text that, of course, made me cry around support. And Bodhi called and said wonderful things and how much he loved us and appreciated us coming. And that's the number one thing. When I had the boys, my main goal that I wanted them to come out of our house was to feel unconditionally loved so that they could go out and be in the world and have their own experience. It's complicated and weird out there. I felt unconditionally loved by my parents, and I wanted that same thing for my children. And so, celebrating my 29th wedding anniversary and Father's Day with Rich in the airport, hanging out, waiting for our flight. And we were so connected. And that, I realize right now, is my biggest gratitude. All those hard years. And, Rich is still doing his own soul recovery journey on his own way. But we're all wanting more for ourselves. And we're all experiencing a way to accept each other for exactly who we are and love each other deeply. And I couldn't ask for more. I really couldn't ask for more. It was an interesting adventure. And I think we've probably had enough of Onewheel events for a while. And we'll do something different to get together with the kids that has different activities. But I couldn't be more grateful that I've had these couple experiences where I got to immerse myself in their life and not complain about it and just see it and be tender to myself when I needed it and allow us to be in our own lives and love each other for just who we are, letting go of the fantasy of what our lives or our family was supposed to look like, and just let them be the men that they are, and let myself be the woman I've become, and let my marriage be the marriage it's become. I am profoundly grateful for the soul recovery journey. Until next time, namaste. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Recover Your Soul podcast and being part of this amazing and growing community. If you loved this episode and you want even more, there is a bonus episode with even more content every Friday. This is by subscription. You can access that by being a Patreon member, and there's 3 tiers of giving of your choice, or an Apple Podcast subscriber. Once you have subscribed, you have access to a whole back catalog of episodes as well. These have interviews, more book studies, meditations, and even more on your soul recovery journey to help support you. So I thank you for becoming a subscriber for this additional content and how it helps support this community. If you would go to the website, recoveryoursoul.net, and I would love for you to subscribe to email updates so that you can keep posted with everything that's going on, different events, what dates are coming up, any reminders. There's only a couple emails each month. I hope you'll follow Recover Your Soul on social media. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, the private Facebook community page, TikTok, and if you want guided meditations, look for Reverend Rachel Harrison on Insight Timer. I really encourage you to take advantage of the one-on-one coaching. This is a unique, intuitive connection between the two of us. There are 9 steps to soul recovery, and I do use those 9 steps to loosely guide us through whatever your coaching that you need. But really, it's about creating a way for you to feel comfortable around your healing of your past, looking at the situations in your life. What are the patterns? What are the beliefs that are holding you back? Breaking free from those patterns, breaking free from those beliefs, letting go of control, letting go of the people around you and how they are making you feel, and taking your power back. Discovering who you are and who you want to be in the world and how I can support you to do this. It's actually not intended to be a long-term relationship. If you want to try a session, there is a discount code for your first session with me just to see if it feels like a good fit. I really try to keep the prices as reasonable as I can. This isn't about trying to charge what coaches do charge. This is about me being able to make a living to support you on your path. I am here to support you on your soul recovery journey. And also, you're sharing this podcast with your friends, putting 5 stars, leaving reviews. Really sharing this with others is growing the community. This is my great mission, to bring soul recovery to a larger group, that we are growing and supporting each other. And every time I'm in one of our support groups and I see all those faces on Zoom and we share with each other what's really happening in our lives and we connect, or in a workshop, it just is so profound that we're doing this work together. We are supporting each other, and the fact that I can be part of your life means a lot to me. Thank you for being part of this community. Thank you for supporting Recover Your Soul. And I know that together we can do the work that will recover your soul. The Recover Your Soul podcast and its content is for educational purposes only and is not allied or representative of any organizations or religions. It's based on the opinions and experience of Reverend Rachel Harrison. Recover Your Soul claims no responsibility to any persons or entity for any liability, loss, damage, or cause alleged to be caused directly or indirectly as a result of its use. Applications or interpretations of the information represented herein. Take what you need and leave the rest.